So today I wanted to talk about a hot topic that's come up again, and that is add-ons in World of Warcraft. This topic is coming up a lot lately, and this is just a refresher of it yet again. You know, every time you think people have stopped talking about add-ons, something new happens and brings the topic back. So what is the drama this time? Well, it's yet another add-on that's skirting the policies of the TOS by gating the add-on behind a paywall. Now, I haven't actually looked into the details of how they're doing it yet or how they're getting away with it. They're probably not, to be honest, because Blizzard's not really good at enforcing it. Most add-ons do skirt the policies by using a technicality that states the add-on cannot be paywalled. So they try to do, what they do is they take the add-on and the data for the add-on and separate them and say, oh yeah, the add-on's free, but the data you must pay us to get the data. You know, that's common with quest mods and weak auras and other add-ons of that nature where you could give the add-on for free per policy and then gate the actual useful data that makes the add-on actually function. Now this add-on, I'm not sure if they're doing that yet, but if Blizzard does come down on them, they'll probably just do that. They'll probably just split it and skirt the policy because the policy hasn't been updated in years, and it's really due for a revision, to be honest. They really need to crack down on it and go, hey, data is part of the add-on. You can't just gut your add-on and say, oh yeah, this useless add-on's free, but to make it useful, you still gotta pay us. Like, that's a gray area, and they fucking know it's a gray area. But anyways, the add-on topic comes up often, and people always want to go the nuclear option and be like, ban all add-ons from the game because they're all bad. And I still think the nuclear take is the wrong take, and I'm going to go into several reasons why that is. And I know some of you are going to probably be in the video comments going, oh, you only have that opinion because you make an add-on. No. I actually, behind the scenes, believe it or not, work often trying to push for things to reduce the efficiency of add-ons or what they can do. In fact, I literally have emails to Blizzard when they introduce private auras saying, good. And then I emailed them a list of ways around private auras. I was like 7 items on this list that said, these 7 things can skirt private auras. You need to fix these things too to make them actually effective. Spoiler, they didn't fix any of them, and 3 of them were exploited in the last raid. And they were warned 9 months in advance, but that's not my fault. But anyways, I try. But anyways, add-ons, I think, are good for the game and bad for the game. And I think it's a compounded issue that comes down to the design philosophy. And I'm going to use a good example right here. This is Nexus Mod. Some of you know what this site is. This site lists add-ons or mods for all games. In fact, they support 2,872 games. I can guarantee you the vast majority of these games people can play, and the first thing they think is not, I need to install a mod to play this game. Cyberpunk 2077. How many of you have played that game and thought, I need 10 mods to play this game or it's non-functional? Probably very few of you thought that. What about these games? How many of you thought after you installed the game you need to install 10 mods to make it playable? Or this one? In fact, I'm going to show you this. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I can't scroll down. Because you know what's down there. This game is moddable and it has mods. But they're not the kind of mods you need to play the game. They're the kind of mods that be degenerate and all kinds of other shit. That's what's down there. You know what's down there. I'm not scrolling on this page. I can't scroll on this page. I'm just going to show that the first row. But there's even this. These are like the top 5 downloaded mods for this game are tweaks, like minor things. Minor things. You don't need mods to play this game. But no one is saying ban or get rid of mods in this game because they're ruining the game, because the game works fine without them. That's the key component here. About this one. By the way, case in point, the #1 downloaded mod, CD Projekt Red contacted them and said, can we build it into the game? Because we don't think people should have to download this to play the game. That's a big W for CD Projekt Red. The next gen update, this mod was built in. This mod was built in. And some other mods that are built in, but again, I can't scroll down too far because you know what's down there. Because when a game doesn't need mods, the majority of the mods are optional. They're flourishes, they're skins, they're textures, they're things you don't need. They're just things that certain, audiences want. But the point is, if you install this game or this game, they support add-ons, but add-ons aren't required. But what about this one? I can actually scroll down this one. You wanna know why? Because the most downloaded mods are mods to fix the game, to play the game. In fact, this add-on right here, unofficial patch. Go away. You know what this mod does? #2 downloaded mod, by the way. It fixes the game. It fixes thousands of bugs the developer left for the community to fix for them. And that is the big difference here. This is where the developer has a different design philosophy compared to a different developer. Now let's look at Starfield. Again. You wanna know why I can scroll down? Because the top downloaded mods fix the game. It's not like Cyberpunk or Witcher, where half the top downloaded mods are sex mods or naked mods. These mods, look at the #1 downloaded mod for Starfield. It fixes the UI. It makes the UI actually not shit. This is the #1 downloaded mod for the game. Why is the #1 downloaded mod for the game? Because the developer only meets the player halfway. They have this design approach where they're like, we're going to release this game mid because the modders can fix it the rest of the way. Bethesda's always been that way. I mean, they have a nickname Bugthesda for a reason. They use Creation Engine as an excuse to let modders fix their games for them, so they don't have to. You see where I'm going with this? Who else designs the game that way? You don't have to ban add-ons to make add-ons not ruin the game. You just have to design the game like a company that cares about the base user experience and doesn't think, hey, we're going to give them just enough because we know the community will give them the rest. Blizzard is Bethesda, is what I'm saying. That's what it comes down to. Blizzard approaches the game like Bethesda, and that's where the problem is. Now, I'll get into another problem later in this video, and that's combat add-ons. That requires a different solution. But, like, look at this, Questy. Why is Questy one of the top downloaded add-ons for World of Warcraft? Why can't you just play the game and know where shit is? Because of no changes? Why? Why cripple the game on purpose just so an add-on can uncripple it? For an authentic experience? Nobody asked for that. When the people said no changes, they did not say, gut the UI and make me install add-ons to fix it. Now they have reversed course on that a little bit, because originally they gutted the UI even more. They took mob health out, they took threat out, they took way too much out. They even took target out and cast bars out, and all people did was all it created was mandatory add-ons. Basically, you had to install add-ons to fix the game, and there was no reason for that. And Blizzard has rolled back most of that. I still think they need to roll back even more. They need to understand this. Like even the auction house. The auction house needs an add-on in Classic. I haven't used an add-on for the retail auction house since Battle for Azeroth when they fixed it. When they replaced the whole auction house with one that was actually usable in Modern. And that's what they need to do. That's what needs to happen to fix the game. They need to continue to modernize it. Just like Dragonflight. They did a lot of improvements in Dragonflight. But you know when they should have done those improvements? 10 years ago. They shouldn't have sat for nearly 2 decades and let mod authors fix the UI that, for the most part, hasn't changed in 2 decades until Dragonflight. Like, that was literally the first time we had a revamp. And we should be on revamp, like, 7 by now. Now, I get that's a lot of work, but, like, it's only a lot of work because it did it all at once. If they were iterating on it over the years and actually reacting to what players need instead of letting us, the add-on authors, solve it, we wouldn't be in this situation. Now, I don't think they need to ban add-ons. I think they need to actually just make the base UI better, like handy notes. This isn't built into the game. Like, the vault is built into the game. Congratulations, one of the icons you need in town are in the game. Or maybe 2. But most of these, handy notes. Now granted, some of these aren't mandatory. You don't need to know where the rare spawns are. And I think certain things are okay to be optional, like not everyone wants this map clutter, which I get. But like basic things like they just did this, they just added this to the game in the most recent patch. An option to show dragon races. That should have been there from the start. I have an add that shows them to me, but only if I actually need them. But yeah, handy notes is one of the big required add-ons, and it shouldn't be a required add-on. There should be no required add-on. Any add-on that's installed should be optional, like maybe you just want this to look different. Or you want Hello Kitty around your action bars because why not? That is good for the game. I don't think they need to take that away to fix the game. What they need to take away is needing to install something for the game to work right. That's where the problem is. Like Blizzard added this feature in Battle for Azeroth. A built-in pull timer. Now mind you, DBM's adding to it because that's a feature of DBM. But this numbered countdown in the middle, that's been built into the game since Battle for Azeroth, but it hasn't been good enough. But that's changed in the Cataclysm pre-patch, and in patch 10.2.7. Based on our feedback, we kept saying it's not good enough, and here's why. Number 1, they didn't make it available to Classic players. A big failure of that implementation. If it's only on retail, how do you expect players to use it instead of a boss mod? They won't, because they're going to use what works everywhere, not just what works somewhere. Number 2, it didn't tell you who sent it. If you don't know who sent the pull timer, that's a security issue, really. And a trolling issue. So, and there's a few more technical things reported, too, that were causing issues. They addressed all that in the most recent patch. And you know what DBM and Bigwiz did in the most recent patch? We got rid of most of our custom code for pull timers. Now, when you do DBM pull, it doesn't do a DBM pull timer anymore. It sends a Blizzard one. So even if that person on the other end doesn't even have DBM or Bigwiz installed, they get the pull timer. Because now that the Blizzard function's good enough, we prefer that because that's just a fundamental feature that should have been built in the game all along. And now that it is, that's what we use. Wrath of the Lich King. There was an add-on that everybody knows about. It existed. AVRE, or AVR specifically. AVRE was a plugin for it that did some automations. But AVR lets you draw in the environment and put raid flares down. People use this add-on for two things. One, put raid flares down to show positions in the fight, and two, to draw dicks on the ground. Those were the things people use this add-on for. Now, obviously, Blizzard wasn't going to replace the dick drawing function. I get that. But, you know how Blizzard fixed this add-on? First, they broke the add-on, and second, they recognized why people used the add-on, and they added raid flares to the game by default. And it worked. That's all people wanted. They just wanted a way to set down raid markers in the environment that said, okay, that's our stack point over there. I'm not in a raid, so I don't have access to the functionality right now. I should have thought about that before starting the video. But anyway, I'll use this. This is another thing where, again, they're recognizing I can do pings. This kind of stuff needs to be built into the game. This is good for the game. I don't need an add-on to do this. It's just there. Just like the raid flares are just there. They broke an add-on, but recognized why that add-on existed, and all was good. We've had those raid flares since Wrath, and they've been amazing. So what are we using add-ons for now? Well, the most common thing is 3 debuffs go out, and you want to very quickly go 1, 2, 3. 1 goes over there, 2 goes over there, 3 goes over there. So it's like you have 3 bombs. It's like there, and you just want that information ASAP. So weak aura goes, okay, you're assigned number 1, you're assigned number 1, you're assigned number 2, and you're assigned number 3, and you just know where you go based on those determinations. Now, private auras are trying to fix that. They're like, okay, well, we're going to make it so you don't know you have to debuff automatically with add-ons. You know what people did? Weak auras. And weak auras that required macros. But they're not understanding the fundamental problem here. All players want is 1, 2, and 3. They want to list the players with the debuff so they can not clutter comms with, hey, Billy Bob, I need you to go left. Susan, you need to go right. And Eugene, go to the middle. And there's so much going on in these fights, and that's another problem I'm going to get into in a second, but there's so much going on that people don't want to take 5 seconds to talk about something so mundane over comms. And Blizzard could solve this with one thing, and that's just accept the fact that you could solve this problem with just auto-marking. When debuffs go out, you know how you put like little arrows over their head and stuff? Improve that visual just a little step forward. Like, for example, let's take those little runes that you have on Odin. Players had different markers, you know, the orange one, the red one, etc. If debuff icons all look like that, you wouldn't need weak auras, because you can just go orange over there, red over there, yellow over there. And that's it. Then when you pull the boss, you just know this. Like, that's the strategy. You're like, okay, I just got red. I see a red icon over my head. I don't need a weak aura. I don't need to press all these...
Repeat our history.
Oops. I don't need to press macros to work around the private aura. All I need to know is I'm red, I go over here. I'm orange, I go over here. And that's it. Recognize what the actual problem is and solve the problem. Private auras, yes, they're needed, because otherwise people are still going to use add-ons because they're metagamers. Even if you have the red icons above their head, I've seen it in Classic. People will have 10,000 weak auras all over their screen for one boss mechanic that's so simple you don't need any of that shit on the screen. Beyond, I still can't understand the try-hard metaing that's happening in-game. That is harder to fix. And that's pretty much perverting all games at this point. People have gotten so metagaming that, like, they just can't enjoy games anymore. And that's real sad to me. But what we can do is, like I said, recognize the actual problem. And the number one problem with private auras that's there is being able to visually distinct X player from Y player to have the same debuff. So you give us color icon or coordinated icons where each debuff that goes out has a different icon that you can actually see, and you're good. And obviously other problems are like when you're doing a Mythic Plus and you have like 10,000 trash mobs in a pile, you can't see anything. There's a frontal, and there's 3 melee, plus the tank. They all got shit on the ground. There's a big pile of mobs, 8,000 nameplates. You can't see that frontal. So you install a boss mod to tell you frontal, or a weak aura that's yelling at you constantly, frontal, frontal, frontal. Why are people installing that? Because the way the information is presented to you without the add-on sucks. That's just the best way to say it. It sucks. Now, it's getting better in raids, don't get me wrong. Like, raid bosses are getting better. Frontals are getting telegraphed better. They have huge visuals. And when you have to spread, there's usually a big circle around your player and stuff, and that's pretty good. But I feel like when you go into a dungeon, it's like the designers forgot that. They're like, you go in there, and I'm not even just talking about old dungeons that are reworked and like they have old visuals because they were designed in a different time. I'm talking about newer dungeons. Like, you can go into like a Dragonflight dungeon and have mechanics you can't see. Or a Shadowlands dungeon, you know, recent dungeons. And that needs to improve tenfold. If you can see what's going on, you don't need an add-on to tell you what's going on. The game has to stop developing the game like Bethesda and start going all in and being like, players need this, we give this. Players need that, we give that. Like, that's the answer. Give players what they need, and they won't need add-ons to fix the game. And then you can still have your Hello Kitty borders around your unit frames or whatever the hell else you want to do. That's, you know, flourishes. No, that's what add-ons should be. They should be flourishes, not feature sets. The UI for Plunderstorm was fantastic. It had no UI mods, and it didn't need UI mods. In fact, if they allowed add-ons in Plunderstorm, I can almost guarantee very few people would have installed them, because everything needed was there. Yeah, there's some tryhards might have tried to install some combat add-ons, but again, just make sure the combat add-ons are reeled in, and anything that's required is in the base UI, and I don't even think combat add-ons will be a problem. Just make the base UI better, and I think Dragonflight is a huge, like, edit mode. This is a huge win. This is one of the best things they've done for the base UI. That a lot of add-ons are basically eliminated by this, if you'd believe it. Just being able to do this, like, for 15 years you need an add-on called Move Anything just to do this. You had to install an add-on just to be able to move stuff around.
This world is...
And now you don't have to.
wondrous.
And that's a win. And that's the path that needs to be taken. Like, you're gonna hear a lot of people go, all add-ons are bad, kill all add-ons, just remove them from the game. I still strongly disagree with that. And we even have evidence that proves you can have mods for a game, and the experience of the game is not ruined by being modless. That's the key thing. You can have mods, but not need them. A mod should not be a need. It should be a flourish. It should be sprinkles on top. It should be something extra. But what we're getting is a cake without any icing at all. It's just a plain yellow cake, and the frosting is missing. And the add-ons that we have to install is the frosting. And the frosting should be included with the cake. And the only thing we need, if we want to, is add sprinkles to it. Which don't change the flavor of the cake. They just throw some flourishes on it. That's like the best metaphor I can think of for this. This is how you fix the add-on problem. Blizzard should be giving you boss timers, and DBM would be like, oh, well, now you can change the color of them, or now you could, change the texture, etc., etc., Basically, a good example is like WinAmp. WinAmp, like, for like old people like me, was an app from like the 90s that can play MP3 files. And do you know what the most used feature of WinAmp was? Basically skinning or add-ons that modified the appearance, where you could move your buttons around and change how it looked. And they didn't change core functionality. There weren't skins for WinAmp that made it functional. Like you needed to install this to be able to play MP3 files. No, you just installed that because you wanted your WinAmp to look like Star Wars ship or something. That, I think, was still great for World of Warcraft and should still exist. I think one of the coolest features of World of Warcraft is being able to do anything you want with your UI. Move it anywhere, make it look like anything, and that should never go away, and that's why I think add-ons should never be fully banned. And what DBM would look like in the future is something like that, to where I don't present the information to you, I change how it's presented to you. Like I've always said, that's all combat add-ons should do. It should customize how it's presented, but it shouldn't be the only thing presenting it. Like if you don't have DBM installed, you should still see everything that a DBM user sees. And that would be what I envision the game being. Would I make as much money off it? No. I'd probably get a fraction of downloads. And I'd have to figure out what to do from there. And that's one of those things where I'll cross that bridge when I get there. But I'm not saying what's best for me, I'm saying what's best for the game. I've always said what's best for the game. And I always will say what's best for the game. What's best for me doesn't matter to any of you. Like, that's a me problem. This is a Blizzard problem. And hopefully, one day Blizzard addresses it the right way. I don't think you need to go nuclear. I don't. But I do think something needs to be done. And hopefully one day it will be. And when that day comes, hopefully I'm ready for it. Like, that's all I can say. And that I will end right there. I hope you enjoyed this rant, and I'm sorry it was ranty and not well organized. I'm not very organized at this yet. And if some of you actually follow me or start watching my videos or my streams, I appreciate it, and I'll get better as time goes on and go from there. But otherwise, see you on the next one.